update on the ECU. Had to update the firmware on the 7-inch dash. That didn't go very smooth. Built the base map. CO2 line came loose. CO2 shot everywhere. Configured the inputs and the outputs. Friend John built the turbo kit. Rained dumb pressure sensor was bad. Had to troubleshoot and fix that. Had to go and buy some ice. One Magna fuel pump and E85, so this is probably what's gonna limit us on power. Draining the 93 out of it, pouring the 85 in it. It's Friday afternoon, it's 4:30, so a little bit of a unique situation here where I'm gonna try and start this, and it's either gonna start, I'm gonna go home for the weekend in a good mood, or it's not gonna start, I'm gonna go home for the weekend in a bad mood and then think about this all weekend long. We'll see what happens. Ignition sounds good. Fuel pump, that sounds like us. Lights, water pump, accessories maybe. Moment of truth. God damn! God damn! About the fastest first cold start ever. It was like the very first revolution of the engine had already fired.
So how lean have you been able to get away with running like 85 on the street and try to get decent fucking gas mileage?
As lean as it'll go.
I got it like in the 14s.
Yeah, that's usually you get to the point where you start leaning it out and then
It get hot.
yeah, or it just starts running bad, or you start leaning it out and it just like doesn't really change anything. Then it starts making so much less power, you got to give it more throttle. So
then it goes back.
It wipes itself out. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that bitch is lean. I mean, I did all the tricks in this book. I'm talking about I lowered the front jets as much as I could. I opened up. I even drilled extra enrichment holes in the power valves.
I have no idea what you're saying.
As much as fucking possible.
How much? Like, did you calculate your fuel economy on gas?
Oh, I had like 14 miles to the gallon.
How much is it now?
Oh, it's probably like 5.
Oh, that's a pretty significant difference.
It's ridiculous.
It's gonna go into the toilet, like absolutely.
Oh, it's
but
in the I've gone through the whole fucking tire thing of fucking like 85. I looked in there, I was like, oh, this whole motherfucker. Well, but I mean, like, I can't be too mad because like 90% of that was like wide open throttle.
Oh well, yeah,
shit.
that's.
You know what I mean? Just burning the fuck to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, you're probably fine then. Stinks like the 85.
Yeah. You don't like the way it smells?
No, I hate the 85.
I love the way it smells.
Race gas is way better. It's a little peppier than I would have expected.
The motor? It looks pretty good, by the way. It's definitely there's definitely a power advantage. I will say that.
It's my day off. This thing is a full-blown race car, will never see the street, and for whatever reason I just can't bring myself to half-ass things, so just spent the last couple of hours working on all the part throttle and all of that good stuff. One of the trickiest parts so far is that the thing, you run it for about 5 minutes and the coolant temperature skyrockets, so I'm hoping that just the duration of the short dyno runs, it won't be a problem. So I'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Other than that, our O2 sensor is so close to the end of the exhaust, below, I don't know, like 2000 RPM, 1500 RPM or so, it's completely useless. So most of the tuning's just been done off of sound, feel, and experience, really. And obviously, you know, down low, have all the closed loop stuff turned off. Next kind of issue is the fuel pump is about 1,000 degrees. It just doesn't sound very good. It's like too hot to touch. We haven't even tried making any power runs, so we're gonna keep a close eye on fuel pressure And I think as of right now, I'm ready to start trying to make some baby low boost pulls and see what happens. A few videos back, I posted a bright orange 68 turbo Camaro made, I forget, 1400 horsepower, something like that. The guy that owns that car owns this car as well. Anyways, let's try to make a run with the CO2 turned off, see what happens. Dead lean, not a good sign. Makes like 4 pounds of boost so far. Fuel pressure's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Thank God, that's what I was worried about. So maybe I'm off on the fuel table a little bit. Make a couple of revisions and try it again. I didn't even see what it made. Only revved it to like 5 grand, so probably 12 horsepower. Yeah, like 400. As long as fuel pressure's good, I can work around the fuel table, that's no problem. There's a bunch of big huge changes in the fuel table. Close the fuel on that one looks so good, I almost wondering and thinking that it possibly wasn't on or working for whatever reason. Yeah, closed loop wasn't on. Probably, if I had to guess, I'd say I let it cool off a little bit too much. Let me add a channel to this real quick. Yeah. I was 1 degree below my coolant temp of activating closed loop, so that one's my fault. You suck! Either way, I can still just do the math on how far off I am, and it looks like just a few percent. Rev that one to almost 6,000, 20% duty cycle. Still not really making any power, but it's also only making 4 pounds of boost. Made another run, got the fuel in close enough where we can start turning it up a little bit. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to spend all the time in the world trying to dial in timing and stuff at 4 psi. Turned the CO2 bottle on, shot a line off inside the car, almost shit myself. Just half-ass ran like a real long line. Good. So configuring the CO2 and PID stuff now. That's perfect. So let's start off with we'll throw 10 pounds at it, see what happens. Picked up about 100 horsepower. I just looked and kind of caught off guard a little bit, but just picked up 100 horsepower with a little more RPM on the last run. So let's see what the CO2 does. Like 120 or so. Actually would have expected a little bit more. Let's see what the boost actually did. It's made like 9 pounds. I do have a shit ton of timing pulled out of it, so we'll put some timing in on the next run. Looks like fueling was in like 2 or 3%, so I'll make a couple small corrections there. Some small PID adjustments on the boost control, cleaned up the fuel table a little bit, and 2 degrees of timing on this one. We'll take a look at the dyno graph after this run. Picked up like 30 or 40 or something, about what I would expect. It looks like it cleaned the graph up a lot. So power, graph's nice and clean. God damn it, I forgot the keyboard. Yeah, the yellow and the green was the change of boost, and then the green from the white was the change of timing. So 30, 20, 35. Either way, it's happier. So I think I'm going to turn the boost up a little bit more on this one. Alright, it's so bright in here. You'll actually be able to see this far better than I can right now. First thing you'll notice is our dome pressure has these bullshit spikes. That's not actually happening. If it was, the boost would be jumping up at the same time. So we'll just kind of ignore that. And once you look past those, changing the D term on the PID, smooth that out a little bit. I do think this has some CO2 leaks. Changing the line actually changed the way the solenoids were operating quite a bit. Fueling is 1%. Yeah, we're gonna call that plus or minus 1%. It doesn't get really better than that. So I want to go 10, but I usually go in 5s. Let's see, we just went from 4 to 9. Yeah, let's just do, oops. We'll go up another 10. Since the fueling's tracking so perfectly, and I've just confirmed we have plenty of timing pulled out of it, that should work out just fine. Send that to the ECU. I'm gonna actually start putting a little bit of ice in it now.
Shit flying in my mouth. The fuck? I can't see pollen. Let's get the fuck out this country, motherfucker.
$780, but it looked like it went real lean. Boost is 14, and our fuel pressure drops all the way back down to 43. So either one of two things, we're done, or it might just need some fuel in the tank. I just checked it not that long ago. I'd be kind of surprised if it burned through that much, but obviously we'll start there. I don't know how well you can see, but we've got 3/4 of a tank, so that's not a problem. Where's the regulator on this thing? Right here. And the vacuum line's on. That all looks good. So 20 fittings right on top of each other. I wouldn't call that ideal, but it was working before. I don't know, not looking promising. So here's our throttle position. And if we turn on RPM, looks how you would expect it to be. And if we turn on boost, it's pretty normal for the dyno to spike up just a little bit here. And this is 6100 RPM, so this thing's super lazy. But here's the issue. Let's actually turn. So if you look at this other line here, the lighter red line, you can see fuel pressure comes up, fuel pressure gets unhappy, fuel pressure drops all the way down to 42 psi. Now where I'm confused is it looks like it starts trying to come back. And everything, all of the other sensors and stuff are agreeing with this dip. And then also agreeing with the comeback. So if everything wasn't agreeing with it, I might think that maybe it was just kind of like a bullshit dip or whatever. Clearly you can see it. It's very unstable compared to the previous run. It was rock solid. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Either way, I just don't see any scenario in which this is fixable without changing anything. Like, I don't think if you go from 3/4 of a tank of fuel to a full tank of fuel is gonna correct it. I don't think changing out fuel filters, I don't have any here to change it with or anything like that, so I'm not sure what my plan of attack is yet. So I knew the pump was going to be the shortcoming of this whole deal. We've actually discussed this ahead of time. We just kind of want to try and see what it could do. This is a lower power level than I normally see them kind of drop off, and chasing around some wiring, I think I see why. So this is probably what, I don't know, 10, 12 gauge coming out of the pump, and we're going down to probably 18 gauge. MagnaFuel suggests 10 gauge wire for that. A whole bunch of relays that are all being powered off of a distribution block with wires maybe 16 gauge, and then going down to 18 gauge for each individual relay. And then here's the fuel pump relay, and I would say that's probably, here's the power wire, I'd say that's 20 gauge at best. And to kind of further confirm the electrical side of this being a problem, come back over here. You can see here in green, our battery voltage is 13.6, which is about right for these. And then you can see as everything starts dropping, the battery voltage follows. I don't know how well you can see that with this piece of crap camera. So at our low, at 12.4 volts. So everything is working against us in terms of the fuel pump. So yeah, either way, regardless of what direction he wants to do, all the fuel pump stuff needs to be rewired, and he either needs to add a second pump to make the power that he wants to make. As for now, that's gonna do it for this one. Came in on Memorial Day and battled a car with problems, and then came in here on a Saturday and just battling problems. So maybe the moral of the story is don't come in on your days off and try to get ahead. Knowing the owner of this car, this thing will probably come back in the next week or so, all redone. And this is exactly what makes scheduling the dyno stuff so hard. When you have to reschedule each car 2-3 times, it just makes scheduling a total disaster.